Now we got it.
You, brother.
Now we got it. Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
You too, brother.
All right, so I have recently become very nostalgic, I guess, and have realized that there's folks that I have the capabilities to talk to and have relationships with that, for whatever reason, I just haven't. It's just like, well, why don't you call so and so? I'm like, I don't know why I don't. And so the other day I was able to talk to a guy that, by the way, I'm recording all of this if you don't mind.
Okay.
And I think that some of the stories that you and I can tell and other people can tell, I don't know that I think in some ways they're worth something.
Right.
Maybe they're lessons in what not to do. Maybe it's just pure idiotic, stupidity. Because there was some times, I don't know that there was just some weird things that we did, and
Right.
But we always were working so hard and always trying to do the right things, and we had a lot of great times, all kinds of stuff. Remember turd training?
Oh man, yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Talk about it. We got to capture some of that stuff in a way that I think the statute of limitations is up already. I think we can talk about it.
Yeah, we're good there. Yeah, we can. I wouldn't worry too much about having to go to jail over it.
So hey, I'm talking with Albert Hinton. He tell me about you. Tell me about your career. Just summarize your career for me, if you don't mind.
Oh man, let's see. I came on active duty back in 1988. Yeah, a young private. Had an opportunity, probably 7-8 months later, I was jumping into combat. Just full of fire, man, just ready to go. Jumping into Operation Just Cause. Let's see, did a tour over in Desert Storm. Hey, you know what? I actually ended up working at the Advanced Airborne School and retiring out as the first sergeant from that place.
Oh my gosh. See, you know what? I knew that. But I didn't realize that that was your retirement, gig all the way up until the end.
All the way up till the end, brother. I loved that last assignment.
So there isn't there isn't a much more at one point. I don't think there was a much more influential position in the 82nd Airborne Division as far as proficiency on the street than power that first sergeant had, that you had. You interfaced that guy. You were that guy. You looked around you and said, hey, we're being safe. Or, hey, we need to look at this. And kind of, you had a lot of stuff underneath you that you were taking care of, that you had visibility on.
Before I actually served in that position, I really had no idea the amount of responsibility that guy had in that position,
right?
In terms of the number of lives that he was responsible for, that everybody looked to him to be the subject matter expert in airborne operation, as well as ensuring that those instructors that worked at that school were proficient at what they had to say. Nothing came out of that school that wasn't right. And, I look back on it, man, and I thoroughly and truly respect the black hats of the Advanced Airborne School. When I was a young soldier, I really didn't understand jumping out of airplanes very well, but I just wanted to do it. And I didn't understand this thing about a jump master until I came back to the 82nd in 1997. and somebody says, you're going to go work at that school. I said, I'm not going down there. I said, those guys, they know everything. You can't tell them anything. And then I figured it out when I got down there. I realized why you had to know everything. People were relying on you to get them on board that aircraft safely and out of that aircraft safely.
Hey, if you have to lie, what? What's the next part of it?
Do what now?
All right, so never lie from the platform. But if you have to lie, do you remember that? Do you remember that saying? So Pappy, okay, so here's what Gus Papillo taught me. Do you remember Gus?
He was before me.
Yeah. He was early on, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Gus taught me this. He said, don't ever lie on a platform. But if you have to lie with conviction.
Okay.
Oh my
you
gosh.
know something, Will? I will tell you this, man. When I started working at the Advanced Airborne School, you gave me the biggest vote of confidence that I ever had at that school when I started instructing down there. I think my very first class that I went solo on was the duties and responsibilities of the day coach.
Oh, really?
And absolutely. You stood in the back of the classroom and some student asked me a question, and I referenced that question, and I watched the smile on your face, and you walked out of the back of the classroom. I knew then that I knew what I was doing.
Yes, that's great, right? Because I remember. So let me talk to you about doing that and the thought process from behind that. One of the things that I did and realized was that we fed off of each other. We really did. We wanted the admiration of the other folks. We really did. We wanted to know that we were doing the right thing because, man, we would call you out if you were doing the wrong thing. Man, if you were doing it wrong, man, somebody snaps you up quick. So I think, guess where I learned that from? I learned it from Dan Bennett. Dan Bennett was always quick to give positive feedback. He was always quick to say, good job. I heard you. I listened to you for a few minutes. There were a few times where he he just said, he said, hey, good job. Think about this. And it would be a very broad whatever. And I would be like, oh, okay. I learned a lot from Big John Hines.
Yeah.
Man, Big John Hines, he was a monster up on the platform, and he would lean up on that slant table and he just kind of, I don't know, he was like a preacher up there. It was like, preach it, brother, preach it. Now sign me up, teach me. And
I think that was because back then the instructors had this thing about they wanted more knowledge. When one guy stood on the platform like a John Hines, the other instructors would listen to this guy, because you knew that he knew what he was talking about. And you say, well, that's what I want to be when I stand on the platform. I want to be the subject matter expert.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed listening to those guys as well as learning from those guys.
Definitely. Definitely. It was, you learn how to comport yourself in some kind of ways from other people and their examples. I will never forget one of the first corrections that I ever got that was very, very meaningful to me. And it came from John Hines. And it, for some reason, I would, when I first got my hat and I first started walking the circle, I would see a jump master instructor on the other side of the circle, and I would see some kind of error that he was making. And some reason I wanted to scream out his roster number and go running across there to him and make a big deal of it. Roster number 42. Oh my, oh, and I'd walk over there and I can't believe you got to get the thumb off the static line. Look how you're looking at it. Okay, what the kind of angle? Where you at, man? Come get down here. Get with me. Come on, look, And remember how we get up there, sometimes you try to get all animated. You gather all the students around. Hey, gather around. Listen up. Y'all just don't get it, do you? You just don't get it. You got to get 4 to 6 inches away. You got to look at the item of equipment. You got to think about what you're looking at. Remember all the sayings and all we could spit out nomenclature, man.
Oh yeah.
Man.
I think though, all those isms that we had in terms of what you was just talking about, it also had the ability to get the jump master students to relax.
Yeah.
And not be so tense because the pressure was there enough. I mean, 3 jumpers in 5 minutes is tough on anybody.
Oh yeah.
So I think the way that you were animated with these people, and instructing these people, I think it had I think it really gave them the chance to relax and trust in the JMPI sequence because that's what it's really about.
Oh, it's like a dance.
Yeah.
Hey, if you gave me an old T10 just like I was training on back in 1995, 96 when I left, boy, I'd love to play around with that for an afternoon, right? Boy, my knuckles would all be messed up, right?
But you'd be so surprised of yourself, man. It's like you said, it's a dance. You never forget. I bet you can still JMPI that same piece of equipment without missing a step in your sequence.
Hey, let me tell you a secret. Okay? This is you can't repeat this to anybody, okay? It's just between me and you, okay? This is a secret, okay? Sometimes.
But you're recording this.
Hey. Hey, all right. So here's the deal. There are times when I'm by myself and there's nobody else around. I will find myself starting in the middle somewhere in the JMPI talk through and talk through an item of equipment.
Okay.
Huh?
I hear you.
Huh? That's sick, right?
No, not really, because sometimes I can still see myself visualizing doing the JMPI sequence. I might not talk myself through it when I talk through itself, but I could still see my hands and my eyes doing exactly what they were trained.
Yeah. So I left. One of the neatest experiences of my life was when I came back and competed for the Jump Master of the Year competition after I'd left the school. Remember, there was a provision that if you left the school for like a year or something, that you could come back and compete for that thing. So, I got all PT'd up. I could max my PT test and went out there, man. And they gave the big old written test, man. Dang, I wrote the ASOP. I knew the answers,
Right.
And it was so much fun. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that competition, but I also enjoyed it because they said, all right, you got one jumper in 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes is combat equipped or something. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this in the dark, with my eyes closed. Come on. I invented these deficiencies,
Right.
But it was nice to be tested. It's nice to be tested every once in a while. It's scary. It's scary sometimes. Hey, whatever happened to the Jump Master program?
You know what, man? I don't know. I think, when the whole thing started happening with this whole selecting first sergeants that hadn't served as instructors at the Advanced Airborne School, I think the Jump Master program kind of got pushed down towards the units. And they were allowing those guys to run their own Jump Master program. Because I left there in 2008, and I think that was the last time you know, that we actually had a master jump master course. And it just kind of, I really don't know why they would do something like that, but it slowly deteriorated and kind of just fell into the hands of the unit. You know, because right now, from my understanding, the basic airborne refresher has now been pushed down to the units, that it's not done at the advanced airborne school.
Really?
Really.
So you know that's interesting. I have a tendency to like that idea in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you push familiarization and proficiency down to the lowest level, they'll take advantage of it. As long as you have a hat there to overwatch and make sure people being safe and give them the basic instructions. I think it's a unity building thing for a unit to have its own jump masters up there. Because I'll tell you this, dude, I've seen some jump masters, they would jump master in an aircraft, but you put them in that 34-foot tower, they're like, hey, whoa, huh? Right? You're right?
Yeah.
Hey, Maggot.
Mm-hmm.
You hear Maggot's not doing well, right?
Yeah, I was following some of that on Facebook. I was seeing some of it.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if he remembers me, because, you know, when I came along, I think you senior guys were, you know, in that process of leaving the advanced airborne school. I don't know if he remembers me that well.
So when did you get there?
I got there in November or October of '94.
Okay. So were we at the old school or the new school?
We were at the new school.
Okay, so you never was down at Green Ramp.
I was never instructor down at Green Ramp.
All right.
All my experience come from there, the new school.
All right, and Dan Bennett was committee chief.
Mm-hmm.
And was I the deputy committee chief, or was I one of the team? I was like deputy dog.
You were the deputy committee chief.
Oh my gosh! I was like the guy running around with the one bullet, you know. I was like, no, Dan says this, you know. I was the one with that thought I had all the power and could like move my chess pieces around and tell people what to do, and everybody just when I get done, y'all just look up at Dan and go, you know, and then y'all go do what I said.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So that, you know, that was interesting times. You know who I'd love to catch up with was I think I found her on Facebook the other day. There's the female. Gosh, what's her name?
Garcia.
Yes, Garcia.
Jan Garcia.
Yeah, where's Jan? What's she doing?
You know what? I think I might have sent her a friend request on Facebook, and I haven't heard anything back from her. I'm not sure what she's doing these days.
So what are you doing with the post office?
Believe it or not, man, I deliver mail on Fort Bragg up at the Hammond Hills housing area.
Really?
Absolutely, man. Every day. I love it. You know why I love it? It keeps me active, Marshall. I walk for about 4 to 5 hours every day to every mailbox is what I do, and it keeps me active. I still get out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, do me a 5 to 6 mile run.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I seen you doing your push-up challenge too.
Oh my gosh! So I tell you what, you know, that's kind of part of what started all this. When I started doing those push-ups, I started saying, I better call some people. If I'm gonna, what kind of hypocrite am I to sit here and do push-ups and not reach out to the? I mean, dude, at one point in our lives, we were like looking at life and death together. We were doing crazy stuff together. You know, It wasn't like crazy, but for us. But if you talk to somebody else, they're like, "You did what?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's the way it looks." And you control the static line, and you do this, and you hold, you look out, and they're like, "What? You hung out?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." And then you know, and then you go around and do it again, and they're like, "No way."
Do you realize how amazingly dangerous it was back in the days when we used to get out of those aircraft, the way that we rushed those doors, but yet it was still safe.
It wasn't no safest nothing, man.
It was still safe.
Hey, okay, so like the way that we jumped at the school, the way we jumped at the school was as safe as it could be.
Okay.
Now,
I'll buy that.
the way that we jumped, if you were in a regular unit mass tack, if you were in the 05 jumping onto Holland at 2 o'clock in the morning and you were emptying a C-141, or no, emptying a C-141 on Sicily on a 6 aircraft mass tack over Sicily at 02 in the morning, and you're up there pushing the stick, okay? What happens? You stand up, you get your stuff up, you grab your static line, you hand it to your buddy. Hey, hook me up. He hooks you up. You grab it as best you can. All of a sudden, your door starts to go and you start running. Then you hit some seats. You got to jump up on these seats and then jump back down and then jump back up and then jump back down. And then you finally get to go out the door. And sometimes there's this much room in between you. Sometimes you're right on somebody else's tail. It's just like, however you can get there, brother, however you can get there.
And you don't think that was safe?
Hey. So it was safe. It was safe if you were. I tell you what, it was interesting. Who did we have? I mean, looking back on it, who did we have problems with when we were there? We had problems with reserve parachutes accidentally deploying as part of being their jump master duties, and we had problems with small females and M1950 weapons cases not being properly tied down.
Correct.
Those were the two main things that we had, that I remember.
Well, you know what? That goes back to what you were saying earlier. Back then, there was a lot of emphasis and focus of training at the unit level. You know, you always did your rigging exercises. You know, you conducted those things at the unit level so that when you did go down to the departure airfield, you were proficient and ready to exit the aircraft.
Yeah.
So.
It was good times, man. So tell me a jump story. Tell me something that you remember from being a jump master instructor. You remember a particular one?
I don't know, man. You know what? It's for me, I always had this problem with being up in the aircraft. I always got sick.
Oh, did you?
You guys ever knew that? Yeah, I always got sick.
So I was,
but, you know, I swallowed my pride.
I would get sick sometimes if I wasn't careful. If I was like on a C-141 or something for some reason, I tended to get sick. I didn't get sick generally until after the jumpers were gone. Like if I was a safety and I had to ride it back and they wanted to do anything crazy on the way back, I didn't like that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. One day, I guess I was the first sergeant down at school at the time, and we had a new instructor. He came from the chemical battalion, and we were up in the aircraft, and we were training the new instructors at the time. So I go out and I do my final clear to the rear, and I'm getting ready to turn the door over to him. So I turn the door over to this guy, and he looks at me. He does his clear to the rear. He comes back in the door, and he says, "Army, your door, 1 minute." I said, "What are you doing, dude?" I said, "What are you doing?" It was funny at the time because the jump master committee chief just looked at me, shook his head, and both of us just kind of start laughing. But it was training at the time. He was real new at it. He didn't really have an understanding at the time of what practical work in the aircraft looked like. So
so y'all were on the ground.
No, we were in the air.
Oh, you were in the air.
we were in the air.
Oh, that's funny.
So, I just gave you the door. Why are you giving it back to me?
So, do you remember Anthony Shirley?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Any idea where he's at?
I have no idea where Shirley's at. It's almost like when he retired, he just kind of fell off the face of the earth. I haven't heard from him.
John Thornton.
You know what? I don't know anything about him either. I know he left from the school and went down to RTB, and that was the last thing I heard.
Yeah. Okay, so
I don't know where Buffkin is.
Oh, where's Buffkin? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you know where Kelly Cole is? You know Kelly Cole? Do you remember him?
Mm-mm.
He must have been before your time. He's a chaplain. He's a chaplain now. Let's see. Dave Peacock. Do you know Dave Peacock?
Peacock. Yeah, I remember Peacock.
He's selling cars in. He's selling cars there in Fayetteville.
Oh, okay.
I'm down in Atlanta now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Where did you do any?
Where's Bates? Is he still in Fayetteville?
Bates is like Parkton, Red Springs. You know, that area over there. You know, on that side.
Okay.
On that side. It's I tried to like message him on Facebook a couple times, but he didn't respond. You know.
Nope, he never responds. I did the same thing.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I
was taking a stats class back in 2007, 2006, somewhere around there, and I actually had to go out and see our buddy Dan to help me get through that statistics class.
Oh, really? You're like, you called Dan for some homework help?
Oh my God, yes. I never knew that man was a genius. You know, I always seen him working those problems on the board inside the classroom when it wasn't being used. And I'm like, man, this dude must be really smart. You know, and then every now and again I see him post something on Facebook that's like mind-boggling, to the average person.
So it's interesting. How much time did you get to spend with Dan Bennett before he left? Was he there for a while? Was he a big influence in you? He was a huge influence on me.
Oh, yeah. Man, nothing but respect for that guy. I don't know if I know anybody that had as much airborne knowledge as that guy. I mean, you couldn't trip him up with anything.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what kind of a question you would take to that guy, he knew the answer to it.
Yeah, he did. And he found a way to relate to people at a level that they could understand. And he knew that level was different with every audience that he was a part of. He quickly was able to do that, and I learned a lot from that.
That and the way that he allowed you to learn the answer for yourself.
Mm.
You know, to not make you feel so small as an instructor. You know, you're a black hat as well. But he had this way about it. You know, you'd ask him a question, but he would answer your question with the question that make you think and come up with the answer for yourself.
Yeah. Do you remember how we used to update the POIs? How he would hand out the folders, and we would go and take them, and you'd have an author and a co-author or whatever, and you'd look at it and try to keep it updated and report back. I mean, he established all that stuff. He established the rookie numbers. Do you remember your rookie number?
24.
24. Okay. See, I was rookie number 13.
You see.
Yeah. and Maggot was like rookie number 2 or 3, and I think that JJ Little was rookie number 1.
Number 1.
But it all started with Dan Bennett saying we need to establish some traditions. He was just taking over the school. And he said, we need to start some traditions. And we called each other by first names. You know, it was, oh my gosh, whatever happened to Man, he was always seemed mad. He always worked out. What's his name?
The engineer, Austin.
No, but yeah, Austin. What happened to him? But no, that's not who I'm thinking of. But
little guy, White.
who?
Is it White?
Yeah, White. That's it, White.
White fell off the face of the earth, man. I talked to him one time before he's working ROTC or something up at Fort Knox, and I haven't heard anything else from that guy since.
Really?
Yeah. I reached out to him once before through email, but he never responded back. So I'm not sure what he's doing these days. I talked to Close a little bit. You know, he just recently retired as Command Sergeant Major, so.
I would love to find a way to bring Close into the same video call and have the three of us on it. It would be cool, man. I don't know if we can do that, but Close, Close is one of my friends on Facebook. And Hankins, you remember Hankins and Hafner?
Yep. I seen Hafner one day. I was out there delivering mail. He actually stopped and says, "Hey, don't I know you?" He, being sarcastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hafner. I seen Hankins maybe a month ago. We went out to lunch, and when we're sitting there having lunch, Tom Bell, he walked right in and said, "Well, look at you guys." He just doesn't live too far from me, but he's like, he goes up and he wants to show up, and then he just disappears on you.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. I tell anybody that was most highly decorated food service sergeant I've ever seen.
So
I've never seen a food service sergeant with that many accomplishments.
Hankins
was tough, man.
Hankins was one of the guys that I admired the most. I really always thought that Hankins was a trailblazer in his. Somehow he was able to be in your face in a productive way.
Yep.
A lot of people that they try to get in your face, when they do it, it's just like, get away from me, I ain't listening to you. But he would get in your face and you'd be like, all right, you're right, I better go do what I got to do. That kind of thing, Not that he was always chewing people out, but just the attitude that he had,
Yeah. He was kind of loud and rough, but he meant well in his teachings and wanted to make sure that you understood the material. Turned the school over to me. He actually called me in 2005. I was working at ROTC up at Elizabeth City State University. "Man, I got a job for you." I said, "What is it?" He said, "How would you like to be the first sergeant at the Advanced Airborne School?" I said, "Man, you're never going to leave that school." Hankins has been at that school since 1994. I want to say he took maybe 1 year off and went to Korea, came back and worked at AMO, and then back down on the jump master side. He ended up being the first sergeant. I thought he was just joking around. And he said, "No, man, I made Sergeant Major's list, and I need to find my replacement."
Yeah.
I said, "I tell you what, I'm in Elizabeth City. I'll drive down to Fort Bragg and come see you, and we'll talk about it." It was the best decision I ever made.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is absolutely great. Good old Hankins, man. So there's lots of there's lots of stories. What what did you see that was unique in your job as the first sergeant? At the Advanced Airborne School.
You know what? I think more so the interactions that the first sergeant took with the brigade or battalion sergeant majors and commanders. It was more. I won't say the political aspect of it, but you had their ear more so than anybody. You definitely had trust of the division sergeant major, that you were his guy that he turned to when it came to airborne operations.
Yeah. Okay, I think I lost you. I got you back?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay, sorry about that.
I love that job. That's okay, though. I really, truly love that job as the first sergeant and being mentors to the instructors. You know, because they look to you as that guy that was, hey, you're the number one guy in this division that knows everything there is to know about airborne operations. And I think that's why I was so proud to retire from that school. You know, people will ask you sometimes, you know, what is your greatest accomplishment that you had? It was a question that was asked of me when I was in E7. I was competing for the regional NCO of the year out in ROTC 1st Region Command. And the sergeant major asked me what was my greatest accomplishment thus far in the Army. I wanted to tell him the advanced airborne school, but I knew differently. For me, it was when I was a platoon sergeant, because I knew at that point it was going to be one of the last opportunities that had to be a great influence on the junior enlisted soldier. So for me, that was one of my greatest accomplishments that I had. But I'll tell anybody, the advanced airborne school, man, I loved it.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Would I go back? No, I'm enjoying retirement life right now.
Let's see, who else? Who else?
Out of airplane, thank you.
Do you remember Shahady?
Yeah.
I wonder where.
I don't know where he's at.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
Never heard anything else from him when he left out of there.
So Captain Stephen Baker, now retired Colonel Baker.
Mm-hmm.
I keep in touch with him on Facebook every once in a while.
Oh, okay, that's good.
He's just retired out in I think Wilmington, North Carolina.
You know, for a second there, I thought General Pappas was going to end up with the 82nd, but apparently he didn't. You remember Pappas?
Who now?
Captain Pappas.
I remember.
He was the Advanced Airborne School commander. Mm-hmm.
I remember the name, but I don't remember
the time that you left.
I don't remember the.
He was after you.
Was he?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I left in '96.
Mm-hmm. I left in '97.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy times, man. Good times. Well. I'm recording these kind of things, and I'm trying to find a way to get them and post them, so that we can kind of save some of these memories and stuff. Man, it's good to catch up, man. It really is.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
It really is. And
it was good to see. You know, it was good to see you that day we came back to the Advanced Airborne School, and you know, I was hoping that more people had shown up, and I saw you that day. And I told my wife, I said, that's the guy. You know, even though Thornton was my trainer.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. Thornton was your trainer. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thornton was my trainer. But when I looked at all the instructors that were at the school at that time, I knew you were the guy.
I was the guy, huh?
You was the guy.
Oh, my God.
Besides Dan Bennett.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, you was the guy. And I think the other instructors will give you props for that too. You were a real sharp individual.
I enjoyed so much those. So one of the things that kept me probably from progressing rank wise as much as I did was because just enjoyed being an instructor. So when I got down there as an E5P and there was nothing going on, I was happy, man. There was no pressure. I felt no pressure like you do down in the unit to get rank, because I was happy. And then I got to be the deputy committee chief as the E5, and all these, other people were over there,
Yeah.
And that's always tough, That's always tough.
But that position itself wasn't so much about the rank that you held while you were assigned to the school, but it was more so about the knowledge that you possess.
Yeah, the institutional history and the ability for the number one guy to help choose a number two guy assistant to. I mean, there's two reasons for that. If you were the longest guy there, but you were a shit turd, we called it hintoning somebody. We would push them off to the side and call it hinting them.
Right.
Oh man. So I really enjoyed working with you. I really did. There were a lot of a lot of hard decisions we made, and a lot of people that were heartbroken, a lot of people that were happy, a lot of times that we really we worked hard. Do you remember something we did together, a particular jump or something?
No, I don't remember a particular jump, but do you know that you recommended me to be the deputy committee chief when you left that school?
Well, I'm not
remember, do you?
No, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all.
I followed you.
What now?
I followed you as the deputy committee chief.
Hey, deputy dog! One of my proudest possessions is my coffee cup back then that says deputy dog on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that. How old was I? I was like in my early 30s, I didn't know what was going on in the world. I was just, you gave me a book, I read it, and I found a way to talk about it,
Yeah.
It was fun. We had a lot of freedom. We had a lot of freedom to do, to work within a specific framework, but nobody messed with us. Nobody come breathing down our necks. We self-policed each other.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't even a sense that people were afraid when you came around. It's just that they knew that you represented the best of the best in terms of airborne knowledge.
Yeah.
And you weren't going to be afraid to call them on their bacon softball on the street, regardless if they were first class, first sergeant, sergeant major, colonel, whoever it was.
Right.
So it wasn't a level of fear of the black cat. I think it was more so a level of respect that, hey, here comes this guy that knows more than I do about airborne operations, so I need to watch what I'm doing.
It was crazy, some of the things we did, Some of the things we did. I was talking about Operation Enduring Uphold Democracy when we almost went to Haiti. Were you part of that?
Yeah, I was a part of it. I was just getting back to the division from an assignment I was coming back from Panama, I want to say. I was just getting restationed back at Fort Bragg at the time, down in 3rd Brigade. And there we were, on the tarmac, getting ready to go. I couldn't believe it. I said, this is going down. It's going to happen again.
So did you actually board and fly away? I was on one of the aircraft. I was a safety at the Advanced Airborne School, and I was part of the safety package. I was on aircraft number 3 going into Haiti on the C-130s.
I want to say I was on aircraft number, I want to say 9 at the time. I want to say not, for some reason that number's sticking in my head. At the time, the first wave had already taken off. You guys had already taken off, and we were still getting parachuted up.
Okay, so y'all were on one of the C-141s.
To the mission.
Were y'all at Green Ramp, or were y'all at the Army Airfield?
We were at Green Ramp. We were at Green Ramp, and we were just, I mean, you know, they had made the last call, you know, go to the restroom if you have to go before you get the parachutes put on, you know. And we were making our run to the latrines, and when we came back out to get ready to start donning our parachutes, I think that's when the call came down that the mission been indexed. So we didn't quite get to that point where we got the parachutes on and did the whole, you know, JFBI sequence on you and got all that extra equipment way on you. So, no, we didn't quite get to that point. So we were indexed prior to getting parachuted up.
Were you a safety, or were you as part of the assault force?
I was part of the assault force. I was a staff sergeant at the time. I was a squad leader down in the 05, and I had a brand new lieutenant at the time. He was just getting there, and I think he kind of leaned on me a little bit because I had the experience, or, you know, I guess you could say the experience of going through this before doing Operation Just Cause.
Yeah.
And he was really looking for me. Mm-hmm. So I think he was looking to me to try and help guide him through the process of what was taking place, you know, how to keep the men motivated.
So tell me, can I ask you about your combat jump into Panama? Can you tell me about the pucker factor that's involved with all that stuff and live bullets?
Okay.
And can I ask you those questions?
That's easy to describe.
Okay.
You know, because, like I said, I came in the lateral part of '88 around November, and, you know, so basically 10 to 12 months later, you know, here I am, young PFC. You know, I was the old PFC now because I came on active duty when I was 25.
Oh, okay. So you had a couple years on you.
I had no knowledge. I had no knowledge of this whole active duty thing because I was coming out of the National Guard, and when I came on active duty, you know, I really didn't know everything there was to know about the active duty side of the house. And, you know, when we got that phone call, guess what we were doing? We were standing in the back of the battalion in a battalion formation, having an AUSA briefing by the battalion sergeant major, O.R. Hogard. And the call came in that we were on lockdown, that we were getting ready to go somewhere, but nobody knew where. And I remember my JMP inspection. Will, young PFC, well, old PFC, gets parachuted up. His battalion sergeant major comes over there. He said, "What door you jumping, whore?" I said, "Left door." He looks at the static line. He takes the static line snap hook. He hooks it to the top carrying handle of the reserve parachute. He looks at me and says, "Have a good jump." I didn't get no JMPI sequence inspection. I got have a good jump. I guess he figured, hey, you're jumping at 500 feet. You know, you're gonna get what you're gonna get. And, you know, when we actually got downrange and they opened the doors, you know, I was nervous because I didn't know what to expect. You know, this is combat, and I didn't know what to expect. So I'm a little nervous, and they open the doors, and when they open the doors, you see tracers, you know, going by the door and all this, and you listening to some of the intel that was coming in, and you hear this, you know, jumpmaster gets shot standing in the door, and so things really get tight at that moment. You just don't know. And green light comes on, and your training just instinctively it just took over, and you walk out the door, and there you are. You're out there at 500 feet, but by the time your parachute open, hey, you're on the ground. And I wasn't so much afraid at that point because my training, it instinctively, just kicked in. And I don't think it wasn't until what really made me nervous is my link-up process. And I'm trying to link up with this paratrooper, and I issue the challenge, and he don't respond correctly. So, at that point, I just kind of sat back on one knee and just kind of sat back, put my weapon up, and just kind of point in that direction. And I issue the challenge one more time, and he don't respond correctly. So now I'm really nervous, and I'm thinking, man, I'm about to get shot up or I'm going to shoot somebody up. So I take my weapon off safe, and I think when he heard that metallic click, he came back with the running password, Budweiser. I remember it just as clear as day. You talk about relieved. I was so relieved to hear that running password.
Oh, wow.
And amazingly enough, you would never guess who this guy was.
Who was it?
He was my platoon sergeant.
What happened? Did you ever get a chance?
My platoon sergeant. No, because I was a PFC.
Right.
Back in the day, PFCs, you don't question your non-commissioned officers. You execute their orders, and that's it. And I think that maybe just the pressures of everything that was happening around him and everything that he had to do, maybe he just temporarily, just forgot, what it was that he was supposed to say. And then after that, we link up and we go to our rally point, and he and I, we were the first two to get to the rally point. And as we're laying there, we start laughing, and I asked him what he's laughing at. He said, "You was going to shoot me." I said, either I was going to shoot you or you were going to shoot me. And we're sitting there, we're laughing, and we're watching the airplanes or the aircraft come overboard, the next wave come over, and we're watching these guys. And I don't know why, it was almost like it's a training exercise. He said, "Watch this guy, he's going to hit hard, so we're just kind of watching these guys just plow to the fence that was in the drop zone. And I don't know, I guess we found a way to find some humor in what we were doing at that particular time. Now I look back on it. But it felt good when it was all over with. And next day to be, you're going to get a combat jump. You're going to get a mustard stain on your wings. I said, what? You guys are going to get this. But for me, I think it's probably one of my more frightening moments in the Army because I didn't know what to expect going into combat. So, but it was also a proud moment too because it was one of the, we hadn't had a large scale airborne operation since, of that magnitude, of that size since World War II. So it felt good to be a part of the history, jumping into just cause too.
Oh, yeah. Totally agree. Agree.
Marshall, we fight our way up on the top of this hill, Tenahitas. And as we're fighting our way up onto the top of the hill, we get pinned down by the sniper. He knows you're there, but he can't quite see you. So he's placing rounds downrange. And I hear this young soldier over there. And he tells the sergeant, he says, they're shooting at me. So basically, the sniper knew where this kid was, but he couldn't quite make him out. And we fight our way all the way on top of this hill. And we get on top, and I see my battalion sergeant major walking around on top of the hill with no headgear on. I thought, it's just like something out of the movies. I said, he doesn't have any headgear on, and they're shooting at us. He was a Vietnam vet, too, so he kind of, that's probably nothing to him, you know, just watching it. But it was just like something out of off the TV, you know, when you look back on it, you know. I thought that man was brave, either brave or crazy.
So it, you know, it's interesting. It's interesting the relationship sometimes that we have with our lives. And I've seen people that in very very tough times kind of take that chest out approach. If it's my time, it's my time. I'm doing what I'm doing, you know. If you and it's not an act. It's not like they're shaking in their boots underneath that you can see. They might be, but boy, for when the moment's happening, they're out there leading. They're pushing. They're doing what they're doing. It's really neat watching people and watching human beings, you know. How many people do you remember being really scared when they got in the door of the aircraft? Do you remember having jump master instructors that students that had trouble in the door? I remember a few, not many, but a few.
Yeah, only a few. I mean, it wasn't a very large number that you actually witness when they get in the door. They just can't do it, or they refuse to do it. You know.
Do you remember
even being the number one?
Do you remember the battalion? Was it the battalion commander that challenged his no-goes from practical work in the aircraft and pitched a fit and ended up having to come back and apologize and all kinds of stuff? Do you remember that?
No, I don't know. I don't remember that one.
Yeah. So we ran a class for a general. You remember that? We ran a class where the class leader was a particular unit's battalion commander had already taken over, and had been in command for like 3 months, and come down to the course. And one of the instructors failed him for practical work in the aircraft for basically 2-week peaks. Basically. And he pitched a fit.
That might be that same commander that when I first started grading the JMPI exam, I might have given that guy a no-go because he had his hands closed on like this. And he pitched a fit about his hands weren't closed. And John Thornton says, okay, here's what we're going to do. Because I was the new instructor. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give him another chance. We were testing in the break room, as a matter of fact, because of inclement weather outside. And he said, here's what we're going to do. John Thornton wrote up another exam. And he removed the logbook. And sure as day, the commander comes back in there. He JMPIs with his hands closed on the rising, and he misses the deficiency. It validated the very thing that I said that he was doing wrong. It may be the same commander, because he came back through the course a couple of times.
I don't know. But the commander I'm talking about ended up coming back with the ADCS, a 1-star, and they both stood on the platform and apologized. So,
yeah.
Great times, man. Great times.
Yeah. that school had a way of humbling a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of my in brief when I was a first sergeant. You know, with a lot of successful people in their Army careers have gone through the Army, done some great things, but that school was a really mentally stressful school for you. So it really humbled a lot of people that felt that, as you say, the cat's meow, got their chest stuck out. But that school, it had a way of bringing you back down to earth. Yeah.
Hey, so one no-go I ever got in the Army, that was JMPI first day. Never forget it. Like
I did the same thing.
Like 5 minutes and 25 seconds. I didn't miss. I missed a minor. I think I had missed like chin strap twisted or something. And yeah. And so they were like, "All right, you're a no go. You know, come back the next day." You know, and I was just like, I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to be a human being. I didn't know how I was supposed to cry inside without exploding. You know. Because I didn't know how to act, you know, I had never. And to this day, I have never failed like that. I mean, it was, we all tried so hard and you know, missed the standards, you know. One of the things go ahead.
So you went through the course down at Green Ramp then?
Yeah.
You went through the course yeah. Same here. Yeah. Same here.
So I went.
I remember my first no-go.
So where were you graded at?
Right there under the hangar. They had a test site set underneath the hangar, and I had missed 3 minor deficiencies. And you know, you had to do that long run out to the gate, go back, put your head down. You know, but fortunately for me, we retested in the afternoon, and I went back and I got it that afternoon.
Oh man!
And that was one of the best feelings I've ever felt.
So I had to go home
because
I had to go home as a no-go and go to bed, right? And wake up the next morning.
Right.
And go drive to do it again. You know, you go show up with your helmet in your hand, and your hands are just meat. They're just ripped to shreds. And you know, you're just like, all you can think about is sequence and calling off deficiencies and you know, left leg strap twisted. You know, foreign material and quick release snap, or you know, I don't even know. I can't even, you know, some of them I can't remember all of them. But we were sticklers about that stuff, man. It was hard. It was hard. We were tough.
You know, I'm not saying this because I'm a nomenclature guy, but I've always said, just if you know your nomenclature, it will take some of the pressure off of you when you're doing JMPI. Because now you're able to remember, hey, cable loop exposed, left canopy release assembly. You know, you were able to remember, but you keep JMPI, but you had the nomenclature, you could just keep going. But most of the students, their problem was they didn't know the nomenclature well enough that they would freeze when they see the deficiency versus keep working. And if you know the nomenclature, it would automatically come back to you. So I was real stickler on nomenclature. I was a nomenclature guy. Man. Bill, my brief's going to run out on me. But it was really good talking to you, brother.
Hey, I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it. I'm going to edit some of this and see if I can't put it up on my Marshall in the Middle channel.
Okay, brother. Okay. All right.
All right. I enjoyed it very much.
Take care of yourself,
yeah, talking with Albert Hinton.
Real soon.
Yeah, talking here with Albert Hinton, retired Army First Sergeant from the Advanced Airborne School in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Now he is a postal worker there in a housing area in the greater Fort Bragg area. So thanks, Albert. I appreciate it. It's been great talking to you, catching up, man.
You too, brother. Take care.
Bye-bye.